To make a movie, you have to have settings, whether outside in a field or a kitchen table. In the next 2 episodes, we're going to go deep into showing you how we built the sets for our movie Hazel, and how we did it inside our Kmart studio. We'll start with how we created the family farmstead. For this, we had to create everything inside and out. Next week, we'll show you the schoolhouse, which combines a remote location and the set we built. First, we worked with a designer who gave us a set of plans. Then we determined where inside our Kmart we wanted to build these structures. Our buildings had to be movable. The farmstead exteriors would be shot in front of the LED special effects volume wall, and then have to be moved out of the way for other sets to be brought in. The schoolhouse exterior that we'll discuss next week had to be shot in front of the LED volume wall and then move into the snowscape. The walls of these interiors would have to be built as wild walls. Wild walls is a term in the movie business for walls that can be separated so sections can be pulled out. This way, cameras and lighting can be added into the set as needed. This image gives a good view of how the walls facing us could be split in two and half of it slid away on those sliding feet. Our film is primarily about Hazel Miner and her family. In this episode, we'll show you how we built a 1920s North Dakota farmstead inside our rented Kmart building. I'm J.B. Holbert, and thanks for joining me here, where we take a look at storytelling from our side of the story. Whether it's novel writing from the first idea through the editing to the challenges of publication, or filmmaking from screenplay through the edit process again to the big screen. In this episode, I'll show you how we tackled building the Miner home. This house was important in many scenes. The story is set in 1920s rural North Dakota. The Miners were a poor farm family, so their home will have to reflect that. The exterior would have a yard and a barn nearby. The interior would reflect their poor lifestyle. We started by building the interior. So we went shopping for the lumber we would need. I'd heard about a surplus lumber guy and went and checked him out. We ended up buying lots of dimensional lumber from him, 2x4s, 2x6s, and such. It was about a third of the price that a lumberyard would charge. But you bought it by the pile and you got what you got. Then we took it to our first location and organized it by dimension. Then we found out we had rented the Kmart building, so we had to move it all again. 2 semi-trucks filled with wood, sorted twice. When we started building an interior set, we would start with the floor. We used surplus 4x8 sheets of particle board. Then we would stain Luan sheets and cut them to look like floor planking. Luan is the cheapest 4x8 wood material we could find. It would never hold up in a real home because it's about a 1/4 inch thick. But for a film set that would get walked on for about 1 day or 2, it was perfect. Then we would build the walls out of 2x4s, not 16-inch on center like a real home, but 24 inches on center. This spread got the most out of our lumber and helped keep the walls lighter. Then we counterbalanced the panels with skid feet we made from heavier 2x6 boards. When we started, we put them on wheels. Then we found out the Kmart tile floor was smooth enough that we could slide the walls without wheels. Here we are laying out the walls for the Hazel house interior. You can see some of the other buildings are already built behind there. Next, the interior walls go on. For that, we use some paneling in the kitchen. Here I'm putting up some of those walls with the help of Nicholas Belinsky. Later on, Greg Lucas, our art director, came in and worked his magic on the walls and gave them a distressed, lived-in look that only someone with his years of experience in set design could achieve. In the living room, we used paneling on the bottom and T111 on the upper 2/3 of the wall. The T111 gave a plank-type look to the wall. Kaylee, one of our producers, is adding layers of paint. This will also get some distressing. You can see the finished wall with the distressed wood on top and the jade green weathered paint look on the bottom. This room was beautiful, but it was still missing one key element, the mantle around the fireplace. Here, Greg Lucas, our gifted art director, put his amazing talent to work. He took purple foam insulation and carved a stone mantelpiece out of it. He painted those stones in the mantel so that even when you were right up close, you couldn't tell they weren't real. Thank goodness we were indoors in our Kmart studio and I didn't have to worry about anyone starting a fire in the fireplace, because it looked like it was made out of brick and stone. But of course, it would have melted in a second had anybody started a fire. Now it's time for our skilled team of carpenters to build the outside of the minor house. I'm going to stop for a minute and say how much fun it was working on these movies. I've done a lot of hard jobs in my life, but never have I been surrounded with so many people passionate about doing a good job and enjoying what they were doing. Thank you, everybody that came out and helped the mechanical team build these sets. Back to building the minor house exterior. We start by building the frames. Here, Dan and I put the skid feet on these wall sections. Then we changed our minds so we could flip the wall over and add the siding while the walls were laid on the ground. Then we set them up and attached the counterbalancing sliding feet. Pretty soon we had the front exterior of the minor house. Then we added the door and porch. This is where movie making gets a little confusing. Please keep in mind, we've already built the interior of this kitchen and the door looks like this. And then when we step outside, they're stepping out of our exterior. Here, Stelio Savante, who plays Hazel Miner's father, walks out of the minor kitchen. He'll be stepping out through this door on the exterior portion of our set. If we hadn't found two matching doors, we would have had to take the door off the interior and put it on the exterior every time we changed vantage point. Now it's time to finish the exterior by adding door frames and window casing. Greg and his team paint and weather the exterior. Because our movie takes place in the winter in North Dakota, we had to add snow. We pushed the facades into place in front of the special effects volume wall screen. Then we add additional pieces to the farmyard, like a fence and a haystack. In a different episode, I showed how we built the haystack out of 2x4s and landscape covering. We later added a barn to the yard. Then we added more snow. Now bring in horses and actors, and our set is ready for filming. I hope you enjoyed this episode on how we built the minor home and farmstead inside our Kmart studio. Our next episode will be how we built the exterior of a real one-room schoolhouse. Thanks for joining us and learning about our side of the story. Please hit that subscribe button. It's free and it really helps our channel. Check out this episode on what it took to turn a vacant Kmart into a working movie studio. Thanks for watching. See you soon.